Hey, this is Kevin, and I'm going to do a little bit of an obscure army this time. Maybe a lot of historians knows about Croesus, but I was always fascinated by King Cyrus or Croesus. And according to Herodotus, and I read that book, I was fascinated with that story about his meeting with Solon, showing his wealth, and of course we have that richer than Croesus. That was an old saying, but Croesus was filthy rich, and he owned most of Lydia, which is today all of maybe half of Turkey, going into Asia Minor and a lot of the Greek city-states. He subjugated, and he was making money like nobody's business. His father-in-law was the king of Persia, Astyages, and that was that was his brother-in-law. Sorry, excuse me. And what I liked about it was that he thought that Cyrus the Great had murdered him, and so he went to war with Persia, and he was defeated in 550. So Cyrus beat him at the battle of Thymbra, and if you don't know much about that battle, that is a really good read. I think you'll like it because it really shows Cyrus's military thinking and how flexible he was great. But Cyrus, when he beat him, didn't kill Croesus. They actually, I think, became good friends or respected friends. Of course, he was no longer the ruler, but I think it's really a great read. Please, it's really wonderful. It kind of talks about legendary power and wealth and a symbol of human vanity. But I wanted to build Croesus's army of Lydia. And so I attempted to do that based on what I thought Greek city-states looked like, and Lydia, and kind of aftermath of various cultures that lived in that area. It was almost like a fantasy army for me because there's not a lot written about it, but I know he had heavy cavalry and shock. And so this is my rendition of it, using figures of, early Etruscans and Samnites and early Greeks, etc., etc. So I think you'll enjoy it, but it's kind of, I could add in here Persians and Dorians and Carians and Thracians and Paphlagonians, but I just try to do as best I can by adding what was there. But anyway, enjoy the rest of it. Hey, this is Kevin. Sorry, it's been a while since I made a movie, but I've been on vacation and running around and painting and just doing a lot of things, hobbying and things, but I haven't taken a lot of videos and movies. But anyway, I'm going to put this up because I've been working on this, and part of this was purchased, and I needed to rebase it and repurpose it and repaint it, and I've added some units and the typical Kevin stuff. But anyway, what army is this? Well, it can be several different armies. It is figures used for early Greeks and some Etruscans and other peoples of the Near East, probably around 500 BC. But what I really wanted to build was the army of Croesus. Yes, Croesus, the richest man in history. And this is the army of Lydia. Now, to really represent the army of Lydia, I would have to add lots of different units to this, which I have in various other boxes, but I just thought I would put out the Lydia contingent. So Croesus was known for hiring a lot of mercenaries, Egyptian heavy infantry, and Babylonian archers, and Persians, and people from all over the Near East, because they all paid tribute. And he was wealthy, and his army was predominantly a small corps of Lydians, very heavy shock cavalry, of which I've represented here. These are figures from Zeiston. This is their Etruscan range, which I thought was very, very befitting of what I thought Lydian cavalry might have looked like. Heavy shock. And I have some more over on the other flank. The rest are from Forged in Battle. I like them because they're easy to paint and kind of put together. Like I said, I bought part of this army and needed to do some work. But I think it represents a lot of the archers and javelin men and kind of different aspects of the Near East, of a early heavy spear line backed up by light infantry and a lot of cavalry for that day. But Croesus was very big into cavalry and mercenaries. But I really liked this army, and I can tell you why. So anyway, I was fascinated with the Battle of Thymbra. Now, Thymbra is probably around 547 BC. It was the battle between Croesus and Cyrus the Great. And when I read about it in Herodotus and some other things, I really enjoyed the history of the Persian Empire. Reading about Cyrus was fantastic and how he dealt with allies and enemies. But this Battle of Thymbra was against Cyrus. And Cyrus had let go of most of his mercenaries because they were going into winter quarters. But Cyrus decided not to do that. He didn't release his army, and he played a game that was unconventional. So he kept his army on the field. Croesus didn't know that, and so when he marched into Lydia, Croesus decided to give battle anyway because he had a very large cavalry force and probably about 100,000 men, and he outnumbered the Persians 2-1. What could go wrong, right? And so when you study that Battle of Thymbra, how Cyrus was able to beat Croesus is fascinating. Fascinating. He formed one of the first horseshoe formations, so refused flanks on both sides with war towers in between to give him extra firepower. And he he had mostly chariots. He put them way back behind the front lines so that when the Lydian cavalry wrapped around this horseshoe, these hidden chariots would come and hit them in the flank. And he used a camel corps because they realized that horses don't like camels very much. And he just destroyed Croesus through these tactics that were just basically unconventional for the day. And anyway, I really wanted to represent Croesus's army because I have a nice Persian army, so it's different, right? It's a different twist. And I mean, there's not a lot of information and pictures about an army of Lydia, but they were early hoplite Greeks. They were allied with Sparta and with Greece, and so you saw a lot of maybe, I don't know, maybe somebody would say, well, Kevin, at 500, they didn't have these formations, but hey, I liked it anyway. It kind of made me feel like this was a really good army. And the other army it could be used for is early Etruscan fighting the Romans. It could be a lot of different things, right? But anyway, I liked it. And yeah, that's how I'm going to use it. I'm going to try it using Midgard. I think that would be a very interesting, and some Hail Caesar, but I think it looks pretty nice. So the figures, like I said, these, the cavalry here, they're from Zeiston, which I think are fantastic figures and molds, very nicely painted, but they're just spectacular. I mean, look at those. Come on, those are nice. Forged in battle for the rest of the spear line. I think they're Etruscans and early Italians, and I thought, wow, they'll work just perfect because I'm very creative that way. And yeah, and the other cavalry, I believe these back here, these are Old Glory, and they turned out pretty nice as well. So yeah, it's nice. And the camp, I think, is from Bauda. Well, anyway, it's a nice army, and I bought part of this from Simon, my dear friend Simon from England. He used to have the Lurkio figures, right? So he really did a nice job, and he didn't want it anymore. So I took it off of his hands, and then I added to it maybe about 25-30%, rebased it, touched it up, and here we go. We got a nice army. So thank you, Simon, for selling it to me, and thank you for for the other manufacturers for coming up with some nice figures that I could mold and make this into a different kind of an army than it was maybe thought to be. Anyway, I think it's nice. I really like it. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. It's just kind of another army, another thought. And I'll make another movie about what I'm painting and what I'm doing right now. So anyway, thank you guys very much. Leave some comments, say hello, and I'll look forward to chatting with you guys. Thanks.